hair care industry is about $100 billion, right? It's going to be for 2024. But Ranavat is so much bigger than that. It's not just about hair care. It's now a lifestyle brand that goes across genders, colors. The frenzy for the products that this company has is monumental. So I'm excited to bring Michelle on stage along with Allison Kelly. She's the Chief Revenue Officer of Digioh, and they are going to lead a conversation about how you maintain stickiness on that website, how you maintain that customer coming back for more, i.e. me. So welcome, Michelle and Allison. And I'm gonna let you guys take the convo.
I don't know, where should we sit? Hi everyone. Hey everybody. Well, we're really excited to be here today, and I want to make maybe a real quick call out before we get started. If you haven't tried Ranavat products, one, there's an activation booth, number 4, out in the expo area. The second thing is we also too have some team members from the Digioh crew. Gentlemen, wave your hands, raise, okay. We have samples of Ranavat products. We also too have 10 full-size products that we are giving away to whomever, makes it back there first when Michelle and I are done. So don't knock over your chairs, and please, don't run. But there's always more to come, and there's a lot of Ranavat to go around, especially now in Sephora, too.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So Michelle and I got to know each other, about a year ago?
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yeah, and we met at Shop Talk, like everybody meets at these events, right? I've spent 12 years in e-commerce marketing, working and building up platforms, bringing those out to market, some of which you may have heard of, platforms like Attentive, Wonderkin, Cordial, and came to Digioh actually after leaving Attentive in June of 2022, and had the opportunity through a random chance family connection to meet Michelle. And we met at Shop Talk, and I had never heard of Ranavat, but I immediately became, I think, probably your highest LTV customer. But Michelle, tell us a little bit, I guess, as we get started about Ranavat, the brand, you too.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you guys a bit of a personal story. I hope you don't mind. But I started the brand, my parents immigrated from India in the 70s. And, growing up, I didn't have fancy summer camps or anything like that. I just saw my dad, in the basement of our home working on buying and selling these chemical ingredients. I didn't know what they were. They were all white powders, but not the bad kind, but the good kind.
I was about to ask a question about that, but good.
I'm
glad you clarified.
It's all legit. But he worked so hard, and I think so many of us entrepreneurs, I'm sure all of you guys can relate. I did not have a glamorous view of what being an entrepreneur looked like, and I saw the hard work that it took, and so that really left this impression on me. I'd be in his warehouse, also in our home, and I really saw how he built the business brick by brick. But things get really personal. I studied engineering I have 2 different engineering degrees, but I went to work in finance and was laid off in 2008. And as someone, if you guys know anyone that works in finance, it's literally their entire personality. And it was also my personality at that time. And I'm so glad, honestly, the best thing that could have happened to me was being laid off. But it really set me on this new path that actually brings me here today with Allison, the Digioh team. But at that moment in time, I didn't know where to go. So I actually went back to my dad's office, which I thought was honestly a failure because, hey, I went to work with my dad. I couldn't get another job. And it ended up being the most monumental experience because I learned product sourcing, quality, manufacturing, how to build a real product. And that coupled with what I went through having 2 kids, just this incredible change, postpartum hair loss, like Hita spoke about, the skin just not having that glow. And so for the first time in my life, I listened to my mom, and she said, why don't you try these, Ayurvedic, ingredients? And I was like, Mom, this stuff doesn't work. And so I went to the local Indian store and you go to the bottom shelf and you uncover all the dust and you check which ones are not expired. And I pulled out this hair oil and I looked at the ingredients and I was like, oh my God, this is half mineral oil. But it actually started to do something. And I'm like, if this crappy version of the product works, I wonder what we can do if we elevate and innovate. And so I kind of combined that engineering background, my experience in pharma, and I wanted to take this product at the bottom shelf of this Indian grocery store and move it to the top shelf at Sephora. And I'm so excited to share that that happened 2 years ago. Thank you. And it's been a dream come true. And to kind of bring it back to Allison, you know, it's really not about creating a product, it's solving a problem. And this was a problem that I personally had, and it's also about having a deep connection with your customer. And so I could tell this story to all of you guys, but you know, I can't really make that impact. So I really wanted to find a solution. How could I guide my customer who's going through these personal experiences and connect with them one-on-one? And I'm gonna turn it back to you because that's really where Allison and Digioh came in. I wanted to treat all of our customers like royalty and give them this beautiful experience. And Digioh helped me do that.
Yeah, and that's an amazing story. I'm still going to question the white powder for a little bit, though. Have to admit that. But, you know, one of the things when Michelle and I started to work together, she asked me, she said, take a look at my website. And when you've been around like I am, I'm like OG, I feel like I'm one of the oldies in the space now, and I really appreciate that. You can look at a website immediately, and Ari, like your sessions that you do on Zoom, right? Like you're kind of ripping down, like here's what's great, here's what's not great. I love doing that, and I actually love to just sneak and listen to those Zoom sessions too. They're great. But that's what we did with Michelle. And it was just like, okay, hey, what's the one easiest thing that can happen in order to be able to optimize the experience towards the customer, but also to really better understand why are they there, and most importantly, because this is really important for you, given how the brand grew up, how can you help them? While also too obviously optimizing for things like conversion and acquisition. And so we did this Find Your Royal Ritual experience. And on the site, if you go to ranavat.com today, you'll see this Take the Quiz. That's the Royal Ritual experience. I was talking to Michelle today about the CTA around that and changing that in the nav bar, which we're going to do. But if you go through that experience, what you'll notice is we're talking about issues maybe that you're having with your skin, issues you're having with your hair. And then the beautiful thing at the end is that everything is so native to Michelle's site. You can do one-click add to cart, you can do add all to cart, you can do bundling there as well, and adding in subscriptions too as kind of that next generational era. But it's all about being able to look at how do you take what the customer is really there for, engaging them at the right point in time, and then leveraging something really simplistic that's a guided experience, that's like that in-store experience that you want to provide to people at Sephora. We were just talking actually right before this, and none of this is scripted, y'all, because like I hate questions like that are pre-planned in advance, and everybody that's ever spoken with me knows that. And we were talking actually about like one of Michelle's team members that goes into Sephora stores and trains other Sephora staff on Ranavat products. And we were talking about some other things, like how do you benchmark and metric that and stuff like that, because I'm a CRO and I also too really appreciate a good P&L like a CFO would. So I do ask measurement questions a lot. But you were talking about how this one lady, she does such a great job on like educating so that somebody, if they're in the store of Sephora and they've never, ever, ever heard of Ranavat before, how do you educate them? And that's the same type of experience that we built for the website.
Yeah, I can kind of add to that because imagine, first of all, we want to have personal conversations with every person, right? So if you take a quiz, I know the problems that you're having with your hair. I know a little bit more about your skin type. I know maybe you break out or maybe you're focused on fine lines. And so then I can really send you a guided communication, because I think part of what happens, especially in beauty, but all over e-com, is just like you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. So how do we dial that down? And I think that's really where I saw this improvement. I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned in all of e-com, which you guys probably know more than I do, but my 2 cents is it's all the little unsexy improvements that actually end up creating some real revenue and value. And so I think this quiz is actually a lot of unsexy things in one bundle. And so it really helps you go a long way, because then you're actually talking to someone, you're holding their hand, and you're helping them with their problems. You combine that with an amazing CX team and all the other things in your tech stack, or real human beings behind the brand. Then you get them to engage with their social, and then you've really got this like halo. But I think what Allison was chatting about is one special thing we do is we always have our CX team that's on the site cross-functionally train and connect with our sales reps in the field in Sephora stores. So if you go to a Sephora and you're like, hey, I want to look at that saffron serum, hopefully that person is going to tell you all the amazing things about our product, just like if you were to go to our site. And having that like brand depth is very, very important, because I think especially with us, we have a lot to say to you. You know, we're talking about Ayurveda, something that a lot of people don't know about. We're talking about skin, hair, you know, it's a very confusing topic. So having that stickiness and that, just that connection across your entire stack, whether it be, you know, people on the ground or in Sephora, that consistency is key.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned all the products too, and right now in Sephora stores, Ranavat has 8 products that are featured across, what, 500 and something?
530.
Okay, so Michelle also too just came back from the Sephora Summit last week as well. So if you're a cosmetic brand and you want to chat about that, she has a lot to say too about that, especially the high-end fashion that was seen. I've seen some photos.
Yeah.
But there's 8 SKUs in Sephora stores. How many are online?
So I mean, if you count bundles, you're getting up to 30. And I think what's really interesting, when I started the business like 6 years ago, it was like DTC only, e-com, and it was like very separate than omni-channel or brick and mortar, and either one of those two brands. So we're really, and the crazy thing is, after launching into 530 stores, we actually have seen an increase on our site and an increase in revenue on our D2C channel. And part of that is because we also have a different product offering, and we have a different customer in a way, right? And it could be the same, but if they're buying it from the store, they're doing that for a convenience play. They might be educated on our site and then walk into the store. So we really try to treat that customer as just like their entire being, and we're not trying to move them from one channel to the other. And I think that's really important, because you want to decrease friction. And a lot of the things that we did before I had connected with Allison and the Digioh team, we were literally getting in the way of ourselves. You know, we didn't provide easy answers. We weren't talking about our loyalty and subscription programs. We weren't having customized conversations. And I actually think that has probably helped our Sephora business in a weird way. Like, I wish I could map the numbers, but I see from the sales, like anytime Sephora goes up, our .com goes up. And that is actually really contrary to belief.
Yeah, it's interesting because last quarter alone, I saw a spike in, well, sales. And it's not just because, y'all, it was holiday, but it definitely was tied to the Sephora launch for sure, because you were all over the place. Michelle got to go on the Today Show, which is like my dream, but that's probably never going to happen.
No,
but
you're going to.
You live vicariously. I live vicariously through you, so it's okay. But but you got to go on the Today Show, and like a lot of the media was just coming out talking about Ranavat for the very first time in some major outlets, and so we saw the impacts just as Digioh alone. Close to 670,000 in revenue. 24-hour attribution window is what the product runs on with your native GA. We don't do our own analytics and attribution garbage. It's easier for us to just say 24 hours, if you take the quiz, you make a purchase, here's the revenue. 670,000 in revenue.
And it's also kind of cool to think that, you know, those people might have seen, you know, they're watching TV, they go on your site, maybe they bounced, honestly. Then they walk into Sephora the next day or whenever they're replenishing, and then they see your product. So there's always this idea, or they take our quiz because they just learned about high-level story at Today's Show, and then we can continue to have that conversation. I think it's gone are the days of like, we just got to convert every single person. I think we have to nurture people. We have to connect with them. We have to give them time to fall in love and have trust that our product is going to deliver. And so they might convert later in their journey, but that's okay too.
Yeah. One of the things that Michelle really built her brand around is, if you guys haven't heard, we're talking customer experience a lot. And customer experience for you is ultimately just part of the product and how it was made and constructed, But the one thing, if you guys have been by the booth or you've seen anything from Ranavat before, everybody today has been asking, and I've heard this too, tell us about the packaging. All right, so like what's on the inside matters most. All right, so as people, here we go. I'm going to get all sentimental. What's on the inside matters most, but the packaging of Ranavat on the outside is like luxe. How did you come to that? Like, tell a secret, insider secret.
Well, I think it goes back to that story of seeing what I always envisioned, or like what I didn't see. So when I saw that like dusty product, and I knew that something cultural, deep, meaningful that traditionally could be found at a grocery store could actually, and frankly, should be elevated. And so I was really kind of fighting this tide of like, oh, all cultural brands need to be very accessible and low end, or you need to keep it in this kind of supermarket Whole Foods niche. So I felt like, I don't know, maybe I had a chip on my shoulder, but I'm like, I've got to overperform in this area to really show that it is luxe. And then we do that through so many different channels, like very sensorial, you know, the saffron, the scent, the jasmine we have in our hair treatments. I mean, everything is really talking to you. And I wish, you know, the crazy thing is, it's like when someone's walking into Sephora, right, they can touch, feel, and experience. But bringing that to life on e-com is like completely different. Mm-hmm. And so the packaging visually, we do spend a lot of time, money, and energy, not only just having beautiful packaging, but actually having the right media to go with it, the photos, the videos, like immersing people in that brand experience without them touching or feeling it, so they feel like I did connect with them and I almost handed them the product.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, y'all. So that's one of the reasons why when we were thinking about, okay, what do we bring out to grow? We bring Ranavat out, because the packaging, the beauty, and honestly too, even the product is just amazing. Hitha was sharing a story about hair, and I have a story about skincare. So some of my team knows this, and I was sharing this with Michelle. I have 3 daughters, 21, 12, and 9. Yes, they are that many children, and yes, they are all that spread out. But my middle daughter broke her nose about 6 weeks ago with a softball bat. There's a whole story behind that. If you want to come talk with me about it, I will tell you. But one of the things that I started doing with her almost immediately, she had where her nose broke, her skin also too split here. And so we started to put the saffron serum and the moonseed treatment on her nose almost immediately. And if you saw her today, which I had a before and after photo I showed Michelle earlier, she has no scar. And it's the moonseed treatment and the saffron usage that we just were like religiously applying to her face. And it is like not only just wonderful for use day to day, but it's medicinal too. And I mean, you have a raving fan in me for life, not just because you're an amazing person and I love your story, but also too, your products actually work. Which we can't say a lot of out in the cosmetics world today. So
well, thank you, Allison. I appreciate that. And I think when you hear this like personal story, right, you realize like just how deep and connected. It's not just like buying a product online and seeing what happens, right? People trust us. They trust us with their kids, themselves. It means a lot. And so you really do. I think, you know, you were asking me about, you know, what's most important or what are my metrics or goals in terms of building this business. And for me, it's only about the customer, because I know the revenue and everything is going to come with that. But if I don't serve my customer properly, if I don't have a product that's going to perform and deliver, if I'm not over delivering to them on every aspect, then I'm not doing my job. And what's been amazing is that Digioh has really helped me do that. They have helped me give people the answers that they need, reduce friction. And honestly, like aside from the quiz, there's just a lot of great free advice because they see so many sites every single day. They're experts in the space. And it really has helped me reach my goal of that deep connection. So I definitely encourage you guys to chat and connect with them after.
Well, we appreciate that, Michelle. You know, one of the things that I asked you also too as we were talking is like there's a lot of entrepreneurs or, you know, soon to be entrepreneurs in this room and in the space today. What's maybe the biggest piece of, hey, don't do this, do that advice you could give?
Well, we just have a minute left, so I'm gonna be quick, but pretty much I've made a lot of mistakes. I think we all have. But looking back, especially on this last year, the times where I've only had regrets is just around not trusting my instinct. Like, I knew they weren't the right hire. I knew it wasn't the right agency. And I went against my gut. And I thought that someone else had a better answer. Oh, they know more than me. They should tell me what to do. They're experts. And I didn't trust that feeling. So that's like the big thing that I would say is, like, don't ignore that feeling. There's so much value there. And trust yourself more than don't put your trust in someone else. I'll say that.
Yeah. I love that. Trust your gut, right? Mine is, after building SaaS companies like this and being able to survive through that and have kids and everything, don't allow anybody else to steal your joy. And also, too, don't let that stealing of joy, if that does happen, if you allow that to happen, also to taint your health. That's a hard lesson in life learned. Going through, I think, e-commerce and all of the emergence and the shifts that we've seen, especially through that era of the pandemic. Hell, I was working like 15 to 18-hour days. That was nuts back then. And I'm so thankful to not do that now. But, being able to now sit alongside, like, enjoy also having you tell the story of, like, Ranavat, and also to sharing about Digioh, and then being able to also to educate other people too on, like, what to do, what not to do, and how we can just be real as humans, and also to do great things through the products and the companies in which we serve is just such a blessing. It's so fun.
No, I appreciate that. Shameless last plug. You reminded me about something I posted on Instagram. We're at Ranavat, if you guys want to follow along. But there are 5 years. I started this company 6 years ago. I didn't go to a health or doctor appointment for 5 years. Like, that's honestly embarrassing to say, but I'm going to say that to you guys just in hopes to encourage you and follow Allison's advice. You got to do it. Take care of yourself.
Yep, absolutely. Take care of yourself, and take care of yourself with Ranavat too.
Yes, and with Ranavat.
Thank you, guys.